freaking first cut. Golly.
What's going on, YouTube? Rick here, and we are breaking down round 3 of the Masters. We're going to look at the odds board and discuss if Scottie Scheffler can get it done. Hit the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and we'll jump into it right now. Welcome into the First Cut Podcast, breaking down round 3 of the Masters. Mark Immelman joining. Mark, good to have you on. Welcome.
Yeah, boys, it's nice to be with you. It's chilly down here in the springtime in Georgia right now, but all good. Otherwise, thank you.
Patrons looked like they were bundled up, ready for a snowstorm coming in, Mark. It looked a little chilly out there.
Yeah, this place is cold. Excuse me, I've still got my credential on you, so I'll shed this shortly. Yeah, it's cold out there, and then it's like 50-odd degrees. Then you add to that the wind chill of it all, and a lot of folks came at you in short pants, so they weren't very prepared for the whole thing. But if you are, it's still a fun walk, and it's been a tremendous event so far. I mean, you've got all of the blue chips lining up for one of the best prizes in the game. So it's going to be fun tomorrow.
18 holes to go. Greg Ducharme is here. This is it, Greg. The eve of Masters Sunday. We've got a leaderboard that has plenty of action on it. We get to talk all about it.
Maybe some of the patrons weren't prepared for that weather, but Colin Morikawa was. That's for sure.
He was.
He was bundled. Tiger with the rain pants on. You love that. So, look, this was a brutally tough day out there. And some of the guys made it look tough. And some of the guys, at least for a while, made it look easy. So it was a great day of golf. I can't wait to talk about it.
Well, if you're looking for streaming coverage from Augusta National, head on over to cbssports.com or the CBS Sports app, because over there we have featured group coverage. Amen Corner with that guy right there, Mark Immelman, holes 15 and 16. And can you say Ace Watch? That's right. Stream it all for free in the United States tomorrow. That's where you will find the afternoon network simulcast starting at 3 p.m. Eastern time. How you liking the Amen Corner coverage, Mark?
I love it. We just came from dinner with our producer, my colleague Grant Boone, and and I've been doing it, I think, for like 5 years maybe now. And when I find out I get to do the show, I drive up here, and there's so much anticipation, because I don't think for all of the stretches of holes in the world, anyone, even the casual golfer, can really pick one out. Yet Amen Corner just stands alone. And the reason I like it is because it truly is the kind of situation, especially this week, where if you go through there and you par 11 and 12 and you perhaps notch up a birdie on 13 there, that you're like, amen, and I'm out of here. So it's not some fiesta, and it's good golf. You're going to see a number of different shots, long irons, good drives, lots of good decision making. So it's fascinating to watch all the groups come through there, and to watch how the guys see the place play, and how people can stand there on that 12th tee, for argument's sakes, and look at the trees and look at the flags and look at 11 and just be completely bamboozled by what's going on, and how a 150-yard hole, it was like a 9-iron or a wedge today, is all you want. And that's the beauty of it.
It really is, and it's the perfect point in the round. It just becomes so integral. I love everything about it. It's been a pleasure listening to you over there, but we've got to talk about.
But one more thing real fast, just a little tease for the tease, right? So we'll come on the air tomorrow when the first group come through Amen Corner. And so our producer's speaking to Grant Boone, my host, and they're planning the tease for tomorrow. And Grant has oftentimes said, and he keeps some unreal records about events that, as you look toward the end of the tournament, that happened in Amen Corner that have an influence on the end. Like last year with Hideki Matsuyama. The weather delay comes, he's hit the ball wide right off 11, comes out there after a 77-minute rain delay, puts the ball down, hits it to the back of the green, makes birdie. That's that. And he had a ball stay out of the tributary on 13 as well. And so you could sort of look back to that being the separator. Well, the tease tomorrow is how Amen Corner, there's like heroics and disaster, and heroics and disaster. And they're going to show Larry Myers and Jordan, and they're going to show Phil Mickelson and Fred Couples. And it speaks to what Amen Corner is, because you're right. It's at a time of the round where it's crucial. There's holes you can recover, but you can do yourself in over there, like we saw the last time Tiger won.
Oh man, got goosebumps already. Well, Scottie Scheffler will have to go through Amen Corner, and maybe by the time he gets there, Greg, who knows what the lead's going to be, because he entered the third round with a 5-shot lead. He ends it with a 3-shot lead thanks to a Saturday 71 that had, listen, plenty of circles on the card, plenty of squares on the card. His second 9, things were held together with kind of duct tape at times, but he gets through it, and he's going to sleep on the lead with 18 to go at the Masters.
Look, this was a tale of 2 nines, as you can see by the scorecard. The scores reflect it. But I've been really big on strategy all week, and I've been studying the tape of the guys who have struggled and the guys who have done well. And where you position your ball is so important. And Scottie Scheffler had done through the first 9 today, had done the best job of that, and he continued to do it all day today, or all first 9 today. He was in great position constantly. Four is a really challenging hole, and he had a great shot in there, made a bogey, his only bogey of the first 9, but everything else was brilliant. And then he makes the turn, and we saw on 13 what we were talking about yesterday, Rick. We talked about it last night. His one deficiency seems to be his ability to hit a draw. And those right to left shots are a lot more difficult to him. But he gets away with a birdie. And now I'm thinking, okay, well, he hasn't hit that hook. He hasn't hit that one that's left. And this is key at Augusta National. Mark knows this. You can't miss left. And Scottie doesn't really miss left. And I'm thinking, okay, he should be all right now. After getting out of 13 with a birdie, he should be all right. He should be in really good shape. I was surprised by the 3-putt at 15. That whole location with the added length, it really epitomizes what Augusta National is, because the safe shot into the green is to the right. It leaves a really fast putt, a surprisingly fast putt, and he 3-putts it. And it's like, okay, he's hanging in there. And then he flirts with the bunker on 17, where Shane Lowry hit it over the green from that bunker. He makes birdie there, and then he hits it left on 18. I was so surprised, but it has left us with, as most Masters do, a much more interesting Sunday because of that bogey at 18.
That bogey at 18 could have been a lot worse, Mark. That shot left into, are those trees over there? They go to the ground. I don't know what they are, bushes or whatever, but we got
holly trees.
Holly, for goodness sake, the hole's named Holly, Rick. Come on now.
I guess I could have figured that one out. We got a master class in golf rules officiating. Let's see. We had Scottie needing to identify his ball, trying to figure out if he could take a stance. He got 2 full club lengths of relief. He had to keep it within the semicircle. He got to replace his golf. I mean, it was just like, it took 10 minutes, Mark, but in that moment, they put it all together. They got it right. Scottie Scheffler hit an unbelievable shot to get it up to the green, past it, and he survives with a bogey that he described after the round as feeling much like a par.
Well, yes. And honestly, today there were situations around this golf course, how it was beginning to play, and you'll likely see a lot of the same tomorrow, where pars are golden. It's not going to be the birdie bonanza that you sometimes expect with all the roars around Augusta National. And so it's going to be, to me, very much like 2007, when the temperatures were in the 50s. It was windy and blustery, and Zach Johnson shot a final round 69 to lift the title there. So yeah, there are going to be certain situations where you make a bogey and you feel like you escape. But there are 2 things I want to point out about Scheffler from my experience and having, obviously watching him. First off, the attitude to me is mind-blowing. You're playing in, arguably the most prestigious event in the game for the most prestigious prize. And I've counted smile upon smile upon smile on his face, no matter how things are going. And that takes something. And I credit Ted Scott for that. I think he's brought a levity and an element of spirituality to the whole thing, where he's helping Scottie to keep this whole run of his into perspective. And I've seen so many situations where, guys have hit shots that have gotten on the breeze and gotten killed, or guys early in the week when there'd been mud on the golf ball or something, that Certain golfers, and I won't name names, were making a big deal about this, where Scheffler, he gets these breaks and he's like, well, whatever, I'm going to hit. And so I feel like that is a large part of the reason why he is atop the leaderboard. And then there's one other thing, right? You began to see the gravitas of the moment start to arrive, because he comes out like a house on fire, plays beautifully on the front there. And then you start to get to Amen corner, and he bogeys 12, which was a good bogey, given it was in the bunker, and then couldn't get the ball onto the green. Then the birdie on 13 was spectacular after that wedge. And then you start to sense, because now it's not like you can see the finish line, but I'm closer, and that each par I make right now with my lead is almost a nail in my competition's coffin. And that's when stuff like that starts to happen, then you start to realize, hold on, I'm on the doorstep of a career-defining moment. And you start to get that sphincter tightening moment thing going on, and that's real. And I'm interested to know how he's going to rest tonight. It's a long wait until 2:50 p.m. tomorrow afternoon when he tees off. And the truth of it is, he's being hunted, and there's a lot of good hunters behind him. So he's going to have to, all the things that he and Ted Scott are doing, they're going to have to ramp that up tomorrow. And I will close with this. Ted Scott worked for umpteen years for Bubba Watson. We all know this. Mm-hmm. And Bubba, if anyone could have a wandering mind and react to white noise around him, it's Bubba Watson. This is also true, and he will admit that. And so Scott is very proficient at pulling your guy back to the job at hand. And you watch the interactions. You might not see them on the broadcast, but you watch the interactions and you see Ted. He's working his boy all of the time. So tomorrow's going to be tough sledding, and he's up for the challenge. I give him the edge, but I feel like a lot of this is going to be Ted Scott and just keeping Scottie's nose to the grindstone.
We are going to get some valuable strokes gained sphincter tightening tomorrow from Scottie Scheffler. We'll see how that plays out. But Greg, when you're 18 holes away from slipping on the green jacket, it's all about routine. And Scottie Scheffler is not diverting from the routine right now, because he spent his post rounds back on the range. That's normal for him. Kind of helps him wind down, make sure he reinforces his good habits. And then he said he's going to watch The Office tonight. Stay on routine. 18 holes to go.
He has looked so good, and I love the idea of staying on routine. That it almost seems obvious. Sometimes when a player struggles late like that, and you see him go to the range, the thought is, "Oh no, what? I mean, he's going to fix something, right? There must be a problem. This must mean it's a problem." So it's nice that that's just part of his routine, and he has been saying all week, "I'm sticking to my routine," and he hasn't said those exact words, at least that I've heard, but what he has done is I'm going to make a commitment to every single shot. I'm going to play every shot the way it is. There's no pressure of world number one or master. I've done my preparation, and I'm going to go out and play golf, which is a lovely attitude, but it's a lot easier said than done. And he has done that really throughout the entire week. And I thought he did that and played the round the way it was supposed to be played on every hole except one. And the one was really 14. 14 was the first mental error I've seen him make this week, where you have to get it past the flag. And it's not like hole number 5, you got to get past the flag, which he did today. Many others didn't, but you're talking about a shot from 220, and it's hard to get it past the flag. But on 14, it's not so long, and it's doable to get it past the flag. And he made that mistake. That was a real mistake that could be costly. But if he's able to reset tomorrow, and I agree with Mark wholeheartedly that Ted Scott is a huge asset to him, and has been, in my opinion, more valuable to Scottie Scheffler than Bones has been to Justin Thomas. We've seen a bigger difference in which Jacob was saying this last night off the air, which was just phenomenal and spot on. So if they can reset tomorrow and go through a game plan and play the round the way it's supposed to be played, be aggressive when you're supposed to be aggressive, and be conservative when you're supposed to be conservative, then he'll win this tournament. But if we start to see the wheels come off a little bit the way they did on the back nine, and Cam Smith and Sungjae get a sense that there's a chance, it will get very interesting. and the pressure and the moment and that ability to just say, hey, I've done the preparation and whatever happens, happens, which is Scottie Scheffler's attitude. It's a lot easier to say that when you're playing great, but when it starts to fall apart, that attitude will be tested. And that's what makes Augusta National great. It's what makes the Masters great. And it's what's going to make tomorrow great. I think he can do it, but there's so much golf left to be played.
There really is, Greg. And just to kind of let you guys behind the curtain a little bit, back in 2008, it was the year my brother Trevor won. And the first 3 rounds, he had shot 68, 68, and on a difficult Saturday, shot 69, and he has a 2-stroke lead going into the final evening. And I remember being back at the house just like this. And everyone's downstairs there, and there was a rule for no golf on TV. And he had a very light practice afterwards. In fact, no, I lie. He didn't have practice at all because the media commitments. It was in there, then back to dinner, and then resting. And I remember him taking a phone call, and it was from Mr. Gary Player, and he was gone for a while. And when he came out, I wouldn't say he was white as a sheet, but he was, sort of taken aback. And he was quiet for a while. And so I said to him, so what's going on? And he goes, that was Mr. Player. And I'm like, cool. And he said, so I was like, what did he say? And he said to me, Trevor, tomorrow's going to be the hardest day of golf in your life. And you're going to have to be a big boy about this because there are going to be ups and downs. And, this is what you practiced for. This is what you prepared for. And it was so true because from the word go, and Trevor had a 2-stroke advantage, right? From the word go, stuff started coming at you and it comes fast. And to Greg's point, if you can keep things in perspective and well organized, then you can navigate those turbulent times, because the truth of it is you don't feel this at the time because it's kind of in the battlefield of your own mind. The truth of it is that everyone is going through the same stuff under the same difficult conditions as what you are, but it doesn't feel like that because, there's just stuff happening everywhere and things aren't going right. And you've been great for the week and you've hit your irons good and you're making putts, and all of a sudden you miss a short putt and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that stuff starts to become bigger than what it is inside of your head. And so for Scottie, I think that, golf swing aside, he can go and hit balls right now. That's going to mean that much tomorrow, because tomorrow is going to feel different to what he's ever felt in his life. You can go, you can go and say, well, all right, he's leading the field stroke scan, whatever. I'm like, let me tell you something tomorrow. That means that much, because this is a place he has never been before. I know he's won, and I know he's playing the best golf of his life and of everyone in the world right now. It's a different deal tomorrow. And I know this because a Hall of Famer told my brother, who told me. So I think he's up for the challenge. The guy I've seen so far has got everything. It's just tomorrow he's got to keep stuff in its place, just ride out the ebbs, take advantage in the flows, and then just let the chips fall where they may.
Mark, I wanted real quickly, you mentioned that Mr. Player said to your brother, this is what you practice for. And It just reminds me of something that Scottie said in his, I believe it was in his pre-round Tuesday or Wednesday press conference. And he said, I've prepared my whole life to win golf tournaments. This is what, I've practiced for this. And if he can keep that in perspective, maybe there's somebody, I'm sure it's not Mr. Player, but maybe it's a Ben Crenshaw or even a Jordan Spieth or somebody, somebody who carries a lot of weight in their voice, who says, hey, you've practiced for this, and remind Scottie that this is exactly what you practice for. And all those feelings of pressure that you feel tomorrow those are all a sign, as Jack Nicklaus said, those are a sign that you're playing well. And if he can keep that in perspective, I agree with you, Mark. He's got what it takes.
Yeah, that's a very cool call. And I'll tell you of a quick personal anecdote. So Thursday morning, my colleague Grant Boone and I decide we want to go and watch the honorary starters, right? Because I just want to make sure we get to see Mr. Nicklaus, to be honest with you. And so we're standing there behind the tee. It's drizzly, it's cold, we're under an umbrella. And this gentleman comes up and stands next to me, and super friendly, gray hair. He goes, hey, how are you doing? And I'm like, fine, how are you? And he goes, my name is Scott Scheffler. And I was like, well, hello, Scott Scheffler. How are you doing? And this guy was chit-chat in our ear the whole time, telling stories about Scottie as a kid and this and that. And I had to drive back and forth from Abilene to Dallas, and just so charming. And then the family shows up and introduced me to the Scottie's got 2 sisters. And he's like, these are my daughters. So good to meet you. This is Mark and that's Grant. And I was like, cool. And so I said to him, listen, congratulations, Dad. You must be so proud. And he looks at me and he goes, I'm proud of the guy he is. He goes, the golf is what he does. He goes, I'm proud of the man that Scottie Scheffler is. And to me, to the advice that I think you say someone might give to him, I think tonight his dad's looking at him going, Scottie, whether you win or lose, I'm proud of who you are. And I feel like that might also be the thing that sort of unshackles him a bit. And that might be why he's just so comfortable where he is right now, because of all the golfers we've seen with close-ups, because we see more golf on Amen Corner than you see on the network show. You see the guys' faces all the time. He's by far and away the most loose of all of them. And I feel like a large part of that is his family upbringing.
It's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. Well, that man that Scott Scheffler is referring to, Scottie, if he does it tomorrow, it'll be obviously his 4th victory in 6 starts. He'll become the 6th player to win in their first start as the world's number 1. He would add to our 2 most recent Masters champions, Hideki and Dustin Johnson, by having multiple shot leads going into the final round and then winning that. And he would add another notch in the column for non-Tiger Woods number 1s who have a 54-hole lead in major championships since we started keeping track of all this, making them 4-4-7. All of that on the line, but it's not going to be easy because it never is. It never is. The one thing I know about golf, it's never easy, and the chase pack is licking their chops. We're going to get to those guys, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. Closest in the rearview mirror and playing with Scottie Scheffler on Sunday is Cam Smith. Greg, this was the easiest thing in the world. We should have seen it coming. The 2 hottest players in the world, the guys that are count for 5 of the last however many wins, are in the final group at the Masters. Of course they are.
Well, I mean, you say that now, but how often does this happen? How often is it? First of all, it's not very often that you have 2 guys that are both at the same time this hot. But you rarely have 2 guys where their last tournament was a victory in the final group together. So sadly, in my predictions before this event, I didn't think this was going to happen because of probability. It rarely happens that the 2 guys that are playing the very best end up in the final group together. So this is a special moment. It's going to be a special round tomorrow. And I know these may not be the biggest names in golf, but here on this show, these are really big names. And I'm very excited to see what happens. And they go about it in slightly different ways. But Cam Smith's been a fascinating story this year. He's made such a nice improvement with his iron play through his career. But really, from last year to this year, he's made a big jump. And at the same time, he's the best putter in the world. And then Scottie Scheffler is world number 1. So I can't wait to see what Cam Smith does tomorrow, because he's made 16 birdies so far this week. And one day, yesterday, he made only 2. So if there's anybody that I didn't want chasing me, it's the guy that makes more birdies than anybody else on the PGA Tour this year, and that's Cameron Smith.
Cam Smith plus 250, according to our friends over at Caesars Sportsbook, to win the Masters. Scottie Scheffler minus 225. Mark, I can only think about how relentless Cam Smith is. You know, he shot a 74 on Friday. That could have been the end of him. He could have just continued in that direction. He turns it around with a Saturday 68, and the, I don't know, combined resting heart rate for these guys in the final pairing is going to be like 65. These are some cool customers.
They truly are. And Cam is playing with a confidence level that's off the charts. And I must give a nod to my housemate. He's downstairs right now, Ian Baker Finch, who's obviously the 17 Tower announcer. And we had a little house pool. And so we got to pick players in like a, snake draft. And his first pick was Cameron Smith, and he got the second pick, I think. So you could pick between Rahm and Justin Thomas and company. And he goes to Cam Smith right away. He knows him well. And he gave various reasons, and I'll borrow them. First off, Baker Finch, when he won his Open Championship, he struck the irons well. He's always done that, but he putted great. And on Wednesday evening, we sat here and watched the recap of the 92 Masters where Baker Finch challenged. And he mentioned to me as we're watching this, he goes, my goal that week was not to three putt. He goes, so all I wanted to try and do was hit the ball on the green, get the thing close. If it toppled in, great. I just was not going to make casual, silly errors. And the one thing that Smith has done so far that he's managed to navigate a bit is he's made some silly errors, and yesterday he sort of struggled. And then also, Cam Smith grew up playing golf in Australia, naturally. And a lot of the golf courses out there are Mackenzie designs and CB McDonald designs, where there's a lot of undulation and the ball moves a lot. And in a strange way, Augusta National is that way. So he's comfortable on the golf course, and that's why you see Adam Scott, Mark Leishman, Greg Norman, Baker Finch, Cam Smith, Jason Day, all these guys play well here because it sort of harkens to what they used to in Australia. So I'm with Greg. If I was Scottie Scheffler, I wouldn't want to see Cam Smith in my rear view right now because the guy is just playing with a ton of confidence. And remember, in the Players' Championship, he went and got it. And coming down the stretch, they hit some quality shots. Now, you might critique him because he fights a bit of a left shot. But as I've watched him this week especially, and a bit at the Players' Championship, he's added this little arm swing, sort of a delivery with the irons in there, almost a la Justin Thomas, where in the windy conditions, he doesn't go hard. It's like a softer delivery, and he just cuts the ball through the wind. And because the ball's spinning less, it just drives through the wind a bit more. And I've seen him do that on 12. I've seen him do that on a number of holes. And so you mix that in to improve the iron play with the way he rolls it and the confidence he has. I mean, he's going to be a tough ask, and you're going to have to stay in front of him if you're Scottie Scheffler.
The separation on the leaderboard is really fascinating. 3 shots from Scheffler to Smith, another 2 from Smith to Sungjae, another 2 from Sungjae to Shane Lowry and Schwartzel. And Justin Ray did a really nice job here on kind of telling us how likely this is or how rare this is. So 3 shots back for Cam Smith. The last time a golfer came back from 3 shots at a major championship in 54 holes to win, well, 3 shots is pretty easy to do if you're John Rahm at Torrey Pines. That's the last time we saw it. But Greg, 5 back, that starts getting a little bit more difficult. That's where Sungjae Im sits. The last guy to come from 5 back at a major championship was Phil Mickelson. He did it in the 2013 Open Championship. Sungjae played himself back into it with a Saturday 71, but he's going to either have to play with his hair on fire on Sunday or get a little help from Scottie Scheffler.
Well, Sungjae kept himself in the mix, if you will, today as the third chaser. And he did it today, despite everything that I've said this week. He like defied me today, but he just saved it with great putting. It was really beautiful. He was out of position constantly, and he saved it with beautiful putts, beautiful short game shots. He can't do that again tomorrow. Tomorrow, he's going to have to get back to what he did in the first 2 days and play the round that the golf course gives him. The wind will be down a little bit. It shouldn't get past 10 miles an hour from the same direction. The sun will be shining a little bit. It should also, with traditional Sunday hole locations, it should open up the golf course a little bit. If he's going to have to make a bunch of birdies, but he can't press it. He's got to take advantage of par 5s. And if he does that, he'll need a little help, but he can get himself back in the mix. Beyond Sungjae, it feels like a real long shot for anybody else. Anyone in the Shane Lowry or the Justin Thomases, it feels like a really heavy lift for them to catch Cam Smith and Scottie Scheffler.
I was going to just quickly say, Rick, you've seen stranger things happen. I think of Norman and Feldo. But Feldo shot 67 and went and got Greg. Now, I know the golf course will be there to be attacked a little bit tomorrow, but this place has gotten firm. And I do not see the tournament committee spritzing these greens at all. I think they're going to let it be what it is tomorrow. Yeah, the winds will be down, but you're going to have to play some golf tomorrow. And what's the low score so far? 67. You may see 66 tomorrow from someone that's kind of playing for just money and some FedEx Cup points. But the folks there that are within 5, 6, 7 groups of the lead, there's a lot of pressure going on there. And for someone to go out in that situation and shoot that crazy low round to somehow get from 2 to 8 under par, 9 under, whatever the case might be, I just don't see that happening. I really don't. So for Sungjae and these guys, you're going to have to go bananas. And the problem with doing that is with a course playing firm, if you get on the wrong side of one or two of these slopes and you hit a shot that's not on, all of a sudden you're kind of guaranteed bogey. We saw that on 11 on our hole today, where with that right hole location, it was the easiest we've seen so far. But if you missed it to the right, it was automatic 5. And so that's the one thing you're going to have to be careful tomorrow if you just go flag hunting, because if you're just slightly off, you might not hemorrhage, but you're going to paper cut yourself to death. And they don't have that luxury being so far back.
Being so far back, Lowry might look to Lowry, which is hard to say because 7 shots back is where Lowry and Schwartzel sit. Lowry 10 shots back in the 1999 Open Championship, the last time someone came back from 7 or more and through 54 at the Open Championship. Greg, these are a couple of guys that are obviously going to need a little bit of help or to do something heroic, but they are sitting T4 at a major championship. It's really interesting how this leaderboard has shaped itself up.
Very interesting. And if you try, I mean, can you catch? So what are they at? Those guys are at 2. So they're at 2 under. So if you say, okay, like we always do, this is not what I'm saying at all. But if you're in that position, you're 2 under. Okay, the real lead's 6 under. Hard to say with world number 1 sitting on top at 9. But all right, if I was 4 back, if something happened to Scottie Scheffler and he got off to a terrible start and I was only 4 back, how would I script my round? And I think that's really the attitude that they're going to have to take tomorrow, because as Mark said, you can't just go flag hunting out here. You have to play the right shots. And so you're going to have to make a couple of putts that you wouldn't normally make, but you can't just go trying to stuff it, especially when it's as firm as it is. The hope is there are some favorable hole locations, but you hope that Scottie Scheffler misses those slopes and he ends up on the wrong side of them. And that's the avenue back. But then you also have to hope Cam Smith does too. So if they were 4 back, I'd feel a lot better about them. I'd have a much greater chance. They'd have a much greater chance of coming back. 7 back's a long way, but as you said, I mean, you're in tied 4th. You're all right, but you got to play a smart round tomorrow. Otherwise, you'll shoot your way out of the tournament. Flag hunting, you'll shoot your way out of the tournament. You got to make your birdies with your putter.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, Greg. You got to get to 9. 8 maybe at a stretch. Maybe Scheffler goes out there because he hasn't played. I mean, think about how well he's played over the last little bit. It's not like he's going to do anything rash, I wouldn't think. But that 7-stroke recovery by Lowry was at Carnoustie. All right. And Carnoustie, there's disaster at every turn. And you can quickly see big numbers. And here at Augusta National, you're going to see big numbers on certain holes, perhaps 11, certainly 12. You could have disaster on, maybe 1 or 2 of the par 5s with the water, but otherwise it's sort of bogey-ish. And if Scheffler gets out there and does the right thing and just gets after the par 5s a little bit, you're sort of giving him 72, 71. If he does that, that may even be enough. Cam Smith is going to have to play really well.
Mark, I'm going to bounce this right back to you real quick here because Charles Schwartzel is T4 right there with Shane Lowry at 2 under. Very candidly, hasn't played well. He's ranked dead last in strokes gained total this season, but he's found a little magic here this week at a place that he has already slipped on a green jacket.
It's one of those things, Rick, where we talk all of the time, and maybe we'll visit Bryson, right? So Bryson comes in a few years ago and goes, it's a par 68 or whatever it was for me. And you got to approach this place with a velvet hammer. You can't bludgeon it to death. You got to be smart. You got to have guile. You got to have everything sort of going on. And then the strange thing about this golf course is you figure out the conundrum that is Augusta National. And you understand which hole locations are gettable and where you've got to hit and where you can miss, more importantly. And guys who've won around here, something happens to them when they drive down Magnolia Lane. I've seen it time and time and time again, where someone like a Jose Maria Olazabal comes in here with 0 form, then wins. I've seen my brother come in here with no form and then contend. It happens. Phil Mickelson is notorious for this. Hitting the ball all over the place, but gets to Augusta National, puts a 2-wood in the bag, and then wins. So it lacks its champions. and it likes the golfers who figured out the way to play this place properly. And that's what's happened to Charles, because he had zero form. I asked him about it briefly on Wednesday, and he goes, I hadn't played very well. He goes, I played well at home, but in tournaments, I haven't played well at all. Now, at home, I've flashed some form, but that's not the same as playing under pressure. But you drive in here and you've won before, and then you go to the champions dinner, and it's sort of, it lifts stuff in your spirit, if you will, and so there's some of that going on for Schwartzel, I believe.
I was under the impression there was a secret ingredient in the champions dinner. That's why all these guys play well.
They drink some good red wine up there. I know that for a fact.
There you go. Maybe that's what it is. All right, gentlemen, rapid fire here. I got to get through a whole lot of notables. Greg, I'll go to Corey Connors for you here. A Saturday 72 keeps him in the mix, inside the top 10, currently in a tie for 6th. He's been a ball striking maniac. He was one of the more popular fantasy options for the week. He is the leader of Team No Putt, but he's rolling it in enough this week around Augusta National.
He's playing great golf, and he's looking for his 3rd straight top 10. I expect him to get it. I was a little worried coming in about how much golf he's played with that run in the match play, and then playing the Valero, which I would expect him to do. It seemed like a lot of golf coming in, but he's held on strong and continued to ball strike it the way he always does.
Justin Thomas, Mark, has flown up the leaderboard over the last 2 days. He was in a tie for 70th after Thursday. He's had 2 really good days with his irons and wedges, thanks to a Friday 67 and a Saturday 72. He, too, is at 1 under par, 8 back in a tie for 6th.
Yeah, did himself in on Thursday. What's the cliche? You don't win the Masters on Thursday, you certainly lose it. I'm not so sure how Justin Thomas, one of the world's leading golfers, doesn't get up for a Thursday round. And they might have been feeling antsy, and sometimes you just don't have the golf swing and stuff. But kudos to him. He quickly turned the thing around with a fantastic 67 yesterday. But it's a bridge too far, even for Justin Thomas, I think, right now.
Dustin Johnson, our 2020 Masters champion, had himself a pretty eventful round here, Greg. He birdies number 2. He makes bogeys on 5, 7, 8, and 10. He gets 2 back at 12 and 13, but then he coughs them right back up at 17 and 18. So he is carded a Saturday 75, which puts him in a tie for 9th at 1 over par.
Yeah, he's got to be a little bit disappointed, but it felt like he was kind of scrapping together the ball striking a little bit this week because he's not comfortable with his favorite club, the driver. So hitting 3 woods off the tee, he hit some beautiful iron shots, but he really, as Mark noted before the show, he really struggled with the putter late.
Rory McIlroy, Mark. Looks like we got a vintage Rory backdoor top 10 coming because he has contended at basically 0 points of this championship. But here he is in a tie for 9th with Jason Kokrak, Dustin Johnson, Colin Morikawa. He's not going to win the Masters this year. The career Grand Slam quest will continue, but he's probably going to earn a lot of money there.
Yeah, for all the folks who Rory's problem is the iron game, can now revisit their argument because Rory has struck his irons very well this week. And to me, more importantly, he's realized the value of discipline, not just going after everything. And he acknowledged by himself, he goes, it's a form of the game, playing this Tiger-esque managerial approach that doesn't really fit with him. But he's realized he has to if he wants to be consistent now in the majors, because he's not the young Rory who could just let it go and have everything go his way. So I like what I've seen. I know it's disappointing for McIlroy, but things are trending in the right direction. I think he's doing the right stuff.
Gentlemen, we're about 40 minutes in, and we have not yet talked about Tiger Woods. That might be a record, and we're going to take care of that right now, but we're going to do it on the other side after a word from our partners. And we're back. Tiger Woods, 78 on Saturday. Quite ugly 78. Greg, he didn't putt well. He was last in the field in strokes gained putting. He missed a 2-footer at one point during a 4-putt. He had countless 3-putts. He told Amanda Renner after the rounds, quote, I was hitting too many putts. Yeah, that's exactly it, Tiger. How did you see his Saturday go?
Well, one, I'm just grateful that he's playing. It's an amazing feat, first and foremost. But this is the thing about that conservative strategy that I've talked about all week long. You have to be clean on and around the greens in order for it to work. And he had 5 3-putts and a 4-putt today. That's not going to work with any strategy. But when you play here and you play away from flag sticks and you leave yourself, you hit the smart shot, you're often tested with your lag putting. And it's something he's been great at in the past. In 2019, his touch around the greens and on the greens with his lag putting was impeccable. And it's going to take some time for him to build that. I wonder how much of those, how many of those 3 putts came from fatigue mentally, what he's gone through mentally, to handle the physical challenges has been, it's unimaginable. I cannot imagine what he's gone through physically to get to this place where he can play. And that has a huge effect on your mental game. Maybe it's a little fatigue. I think that played a role in it. Not able to be quite as aggressive with his irons, leaving it short sometimes. Some situations like that where he left himself some really difficult 2 putts. But the putting was the glaring issue today.
Mark, we joked at the top about it was a bit chilly there in Georgia today. I think right before Tiger's tee time, they flashed the temperature. It was like 48 degrees or something like that, and the sun had just tucked itself back behind the clouds. We weren't going to see it for a while. I cannot imagine that 2 full competitive days at the Masters and then a chilly morning was good for Tiger. We saw him kind of trying to stretch it out all day long.
Yeah, you cannot make enough about how difficult the conditions were because, like, look, if you're playing this event at a regular PGA Tour stop, the guys would still have their way with the golf course because of how the golf course sets up. But you got this place here where the wind bounces around between these trees all of the time. Then the sun's behind the trees, for argument's sakes, and the wind chill is up there, and it's just downright difficult. It's just a different difficult to what a regular tour stop with the same temperature is. And then you add in the pressure of a major championship. And then in Woods' case, you add in the fact that, as he joked, he goes, well, I haven't really played much competitive golf here lately. There's some of that brought to bear as well. So, I mean, I'm in awe of the guy. I got to be honest, shooting 1 over par through 2 rounds, getting half of the greens in regulation, that was like mind numbing to me. I mean, he's just so special, and getting to watch him play this week has been a treat. I felt for him today because you could see how everyone talks about how grueling this walk is. You could see it start to take its toll on the trail leg. Yeah. And as importantly, the lead leg, because the human body is a beautiful counterbalance, right? And if something's awry, then the rest of the body starts to counteract and do what it needs to. So you get muscle imbalances. And I can imagine his back must be tight as anything. And then you add to that, that gimpy trail foot, and you're playing from all these uneven lies and walking on these uneven lies. It's something us normal folks don't realize. But when you've got rods and screws in there, it must be grueling. So watching him walk up the final few holes, and you could see it on the scorecard, it must have been so very difficult. And I don't want to be a media member who's sort of overplaying the situation, but we could only fathom the pain he's going through right now. It's got to be real, and I'm just still in eternal awe of the fact that the guy played well and he's making the cut, given he couldn't walk just a few months ago.
Yeah, noticeably more fatigued here on Saturday. And it's a quick turnaround, Greg, because he's the 5th group out on Sunday morning. How about this pairing? Tiger Woods, Jon Rahm at 10:50 a.m. Eastern. These two on Sunday at the Masters. I wish it was a little bit later. I wish it was like 2 o'clock, but it's 10:50, and we're still going to see just 2 of the best names in golf.
This is not a great tee time for Tiger, and it has nothing to do with Jon Rahm.
It's Jon Rahm. Right? Jon Rahm's not happy with the 10:50 tee time.
No. But this is a quick turnaround for Tiger, which is the quickest turnaround by far that he's had all week. And it was really important today to kind of stay in that afternoon group just for his health, not even to contend in the event, just to. So I think it's going to be a tough day again tomorrow with this limited recovery time. I don't think any of us can understand what he's going through every night and every morning to get ready. And I expect to see a tired Tiger Woods tomorrow, but it'll be a cool experience for Jon Rahm to get to touch and be a part of this historic week, because it is nothing short of historic already.
Maybe he can pry some tips out of him finally when he's stuck for 5 hours. Maybe he can finally pry some out. We'll see. What
I doubt that.
There are some killer groups for tomorrow. So the first pair out, Cam Davis, Adam Scott, a couple of Aussies. I guess Jeff Knox does not get to tee it up this year. Billy Horschel, Terrell Hatton, just turn the mics on. We don't, Mark, when they get to Amen Corner, I love you. We don't need you. Let them do it. Let them. Terrell Hatton and Billy Horschel is like, they can do their own talking, I think.
There's 3 golfers who make my job as an on-course announcer easier. Jordan Spieth, Tyrrell Hatton, Billy Horschel. And Billy, after an errant approach shot today, hurled a 3-iron, whatever it was, not straight at our camera guy, but it was in his direction. Came out there with some venom. So yeah, it's going to be an entertaining group there.
He seems to ratchet it up at Augusta National too.
Yeah.
Remember what was it last year in 2021 when he was down in the tributary to Rays Creek, like looking for a ball? There was like a couple situations with him early in the week last Masters.
Yeah, he had to apologize, I believe, to the to the membership. But hey, apparently he's learned his lesson or so. Well, I guess maybe not. Let's see what else we got here. Hideki Matsuyama, Victor Hovland for all you ball striking fanatics. That should be a fun one. Dustin Johnson, Cam Champ for you Bomber fans. Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa going out together. I mean, this is just like this is Christmas Sunday. It really is for us.
It always is. This golf tournament somehow finds a way to serve up the storylines every year, whether the weather's good or whether it's bad or whether I don't know. It's just crazy how this Augusta National Golf Club and the tournament just seems to bring out the storyline year after year.
All right, do we have to go on record here? I think Scottie wins it. Greg, what say you?
Scottie.
Mark?
You got to give it to Scottie. That it's going to be hard, like Mr. Player said, but that's a big edge for someone to overcome.
Minus 225 over at Caesars Sportsbook. Cam Smith, as I mentioned, plus 250. Sungjae Im is next at 14-1, and then nobody else shorter than 50 is where you get to Shane Lowry. So basically a 2.5 horse race according to Caesars Sportsbook. And gentlemen, this time tomorrow we will have a new Masters champion. That's exciting stuff. Anything else before we get out of here?
I can't wait for tomorrow. It's gonna be a great day.
I'm tired, but it's going to be a great day. It's going to be awesome.
All right. Go get some rest, Mark. You got a long day ahead of you, and it is going to be an absolute blast. But for now, big thanks to producer Jacob, does all the hard work behind the scenes. Mark Immelman, you can find on Twitter at Mark_Immelman, and that's Greg Ducharme, who you can find at The Real GFD. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut, and we'll catch you next time.